This message is to be uploaded on the 23rd, 24th, no later, God willing, than the 25th of 2024. And again, this is Angelo Quinones. Hi everybody, this is Angelo Quinones, and you reached I Am Ministries. I Am Ministries is designed to give you dependable and accurate answers that come straight from God's holy and inspired word, the Bible. The Bible. How's it going in Minor Greek? Manishma in the Jewish tongue, or just Shalom. Okay. And so that's just the deal. Bebakasha, you're welcome. Okay, just in case you said thank you for teaching you those pleasant words from two base languages of the Bible. Okay, Hebrew and Greek. Okay, throw in there Aramaic, Egyptian, and things like that. But those are the two main languages in the Bible. Now we're studying the anastasis of Jesus, the bodily. Somatika anastasis tu Yesu Christu Hemon Kuriu. Okay, that's the subtitle. The bodily resurrection of Jesus Christ our Lord. Okay, the main title is anastasis. Okay, it's not agnostic. Anastasis means resurrection. Okay, and the several words that we looked at, recorded in the New Testament for Jesus being raised, in the perfect tense, and aorist passive, and different constructions, And so that's just the deal. So we were looking at the Acts of the Apostles, and so we're going back to that. Now we ventured off from the Acts of the Apostles to the book of Romans, and saw the resurrection peppered through that. In particular, Romans chapter 4, verse 25, where it says that he was delivered for our offenses and raised for our justification. There is no justification without the anastasis of the resurrection of Jesus, which is the capstone of Christianity, removing in all those crumbles. It is the singular doctrine that elevated Christianity above all the pagan religions of the world. End quote. So, it is one of the essentials, the 6 essentials of the historic Christian faith. There are more essentials. And in essentials, we must have unity, and non-essentials, liberty, and all things charity. Excuse me. Now, let's go back to the Acts of the Apostles. But before I do, okay, I want to say that the Praxis Apostolorum, the Acts of the Apostles, is literally peppered with the resurrection. Again, chapter 1, verse 3, chapter 2, 3 times there, it mentions Jesus' resurrection. Now, when I say resurrection, I don't mean, resurrection 1 and resurrection 2. I'm not talking about the resurrection of the just and of the unjust. Recorded in Praxis Apostolorum, chapter 24, verse 15, where you see that they both are going to be raised from the dead, the just and the unjust. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about strictly the resurrection, the bodily resurrection of Jesus Christ, our Lord, who is the firstborn, okay, from among the dead, verse 18 in chapter 1 of Colossians, and the first fruit, okay, also recorded. So, so we have it in, we saw it in chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, I think, like verses of 15, 10, and 30 respectively, something like that. And then we saw it in chapter 10 a couple of times. We saw it there, recorded. And then we saw it in chapter 13 4 times. Is the most that is recorded of any chapter in Praxis Apostolorum. The bodily resurrection of Jesus is recorded 4 times there. Verses 30, 33, 34, and 37, something like that. And then we saw it in, once or twice in chapter 17, and then we broke off there and went to other things. So let's get back to it. Now, the resurrection is not recorded of Jesus, meaning strictly, it's stated in chapter 18, chapter 19, chapter 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. It goes back in the track of speaking about it, meaning the book, in chapters 25 and 26, and after that, that's it. And 27 doesn't have it, and 28 doesn't have it, So it has it in chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 13, 17, 25 and 26. I think it has it in 10 of the 28 chapters, something to that effect. Okay, which is more than 33% of the book. Okay, meaning the chapters anyway. And sometimes it has it, like 3 or 4 times. So if you count that, and sometimes twice. So I mean, if you count that, then you're adding about another 10, and verses reach to about maybe 20 or so times that the resurrection of Jesus is found recorded in a 28 chapter set. So basically, you have maybe 66, more than 66, or maybe 70% of the book in chapters covered by the resurrection of Jesus. Well, that's interesting. So let's get back to this, though. Let's get back to the verse at hand. And the verse at hand is recorded in Praxis Apostolorum the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 5, verse 19, where it says something like this. It says, this is the NASB. It says, but they simply had some points of disagreement. Was a disagreement with him about their own religion and about a dead man, Jesus, whom Paul asserted to be alive. Okay? Now, Paul asserted that he was alive. He wasn't dead. He wasn't a dead man. He was a very living being. And so he was raised up to life again. Now, Jesus did not see any annihilation, annihilation whatsoever, I should say, either of the body. His body didn't see corruption. Hebrew word chat, found and recorded in the Jewish scriptures in Psalm 16, verse 10. He didn't see diaphathata. That's 16:10 again, and sometimes 15:10. Psalm 16 and Psalm 15, verse 10, fluctuates from different sources, Septuagints. I got it. You know what I'm saying? Diapathata means corruption. Found and recorded, at least pathata is anyway in the Greek New Testament for the resurrection, for the corruptible and corruption, or whatever the case may be, found and recorded in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. Okay, now we're going to look at the Greek. This is the full Greek construction. Now he's on charge. Jesus sent Paul to suffer for his name's sake. Okay, that's what he was going to do. He was appointed to the works that Paul was engaged in. Okay, he was appointed unto those works. And one of the things that he had to do was suffer for the name of Jesus, because he made many suffer under his hand when he was strictly a Pharisee, zealous Pharisee. You understand what I'm saying? So he had to actually undergo great suffering, okay, for the edification of the church and for the future of the church. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, so let's go to NIV, according to the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 25. Okay, and let me see, let's do that here in verse 19. That's just a deal. Let's see what it says. So something like this. It says, instead they had some points of disputes with him, meaning with the Apostle Paul, about their own religion and about a dead man named Jesus, whom Paul claimed was alive. Okay? One says asserted, one says claimed, and so that's just the deal. Now I want to mention that our last study really consisted of looking at 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verses, I believe 4, 12, 15, and 20, where the bodily resurrection of Jesus is spelled out in those 4 verses. Okay, there's over 50 verses of that chapter, but 4 verses are dedicated for the blessed resurrection of Jesus Christ our Lord. Okay, so that's the great resurrection chapter that covers all the bases: the resurrection of Jesus, the resurrection of the just, and the resurrection of the unjust. It covers everything. Okay, basically the hope of the believer is covered, but there is a resurrection of the dead. Okay, so that's just the deal. The fact of resurrection is clearly spelled out in that epistle. Now, so that's just a deal. Now let's look at the Greek. Okay, let's look at the Greek. This is a full Greek instruction, and I try to teach you guys how to read the Greek. Let's go to this Greek interlinear, Greek and Hebrew interlinear. And let's punch up the tab. Acts of the Apostles. Okay, so that's just it. See the praxis apostolon is Acts of the Apostles. That's what it basically means. And so, hi my love. That's my daughter with me, Anna Devane. She's a special child, so please be very patient with her. And be patient with my asthma. It's really acting up a lot. My baby actually laughs when I cough. So that's just it. Alright. And I'm keeping my voice a little bit down because my wife is in the same room sleeping with my baby Sean Donnelly. Okay, so I mean, you have 2 out of 4 people that are sleeping, So that's just the deal. So that's just it. So it says over here, questions, and that's zete mata. Okay, actually in modern Greek will be ziti mata, but we're talking about, biblical Greek. However, it says dead as opposed positive, delta epsilon. That is to be translated first. Certain, and that's tina, certain. Not to be confused with tima, with a mu. Tima means honor. That's honor recorded for, same honor that you give the Father, you have to give the Son. And that's in the famous verse 23 of chapter 5 of John's Gospel. But that's Tima, Tima. This is Tina, like Tina Turner, that singer that passed away a year ago, or whatever it was. You understand what I'm saying? Tina. Tau, nowadays called Toph, Iota, Nu, nowadays called Ni, and Alpha. Tina, not Tima. Okay, concerning, that's Betty. It's basically always Perry. Basically, when you see concerning, see that preposition Betty there. The, and that's taste as a genitive article. Own, and that's idios. Okay, own, idios. Own religion. And religion is translated in the Greek word de si daimonios. Okay, religion. That's a genitive there. Very long Greek word. Okay, they had against. Okay, they had against, and that's echan. Okay, echan. And that's in the imperfect indicative active construction. Okay, so indicative, if you're going to see, I should say the imperfect tense, you're going to see a nu there, probably, and the active, the secondary active personal ending nu. Connecting vowel omicron, and as the stem, as the imperfect tense stem. Epsilon yod chi. Pros, and that's against. Translated aggressive preposition there. Him, altan, and that's a third person personal pronoun from the autos pronoun, so autos, autu, auto, auton, and Greek word kai, concerning Nesperi again, a certain, and that's Tinas, a certain Jesus, okay, Yesu, and that's in the genitive construction, but that's also in the dative construction, so you have to be careful with that. An article can help you out. If it's tu Yesu, then it'll be, you're looking at the genitive. If it's do Yesu, you're looking at the dative, because the construction is the same for those two cases. So an article can help you out, or just the title Christ can help you out, Yesu Christo or Yesu Christu, and then you know how it's functioning. By the way, Jesus is found Jesus is found 917 times in the Greek New Testament. Okay, surpassing by a mile how many times Mary is found in the New Testament, which is only 27 times. It's not all for her, the Virgin Mary. Okay, that's just it. And incidentally, in the NIV, one of the NIVs, Jesus is found and recorded more than one of the King Jameses by a count of 1,241 to 971 times. By a total whopping number of 270 times that Jesus is found more in an NIV, more than the King James, and that's a startling number. This idea that Jesus was deleted, okay, from the NIV Bible is just a lie of the devil. No wonder the devil doesn't like the NIV, because the deity of Christ is found more there by count of 12-7 or 8 or something like that versus the King James, and Jesus' name is found more. So of course he hates the NIV. He uses people like Gary Rippenker to attack it. No, it's just in the church, by the way. So it says having been dead, and that's in the perfect tense, perfect participle active actually. So that's just a deal. That's an active, and that's is masculine. So that's going to have to either be nu tau or omicron tau as your participial morpheme there, and so that's just it. Another perfect. All right, so it says over here having, okay, so having been dead, and that's te sne katas, and it looks like in the perfect tense the theta reduplicated into another theta, but is written down as a tau connected by connecting vowel epsilon between the to. Okay, it's the same thing going on with that word to behold, found and recorded in verse 12, I believe, of chapter 4 of John's Gospel. 1 John, not the Gospel, but 1 John, I should say, rather. Okay, it's called consonantal reduplication. But some consonants don't reduplicate, visually. The theta doesn't reduplicate to another theta. Just to another tau. Like I said before, spelled out tau epsilon theta, nowadays called theta, nu nowadays called ni, eta nowadays called eta, kappa, omicron nowadays called omicron, and tau nowadays called tau, omicron and final sigma. Lexical form is the nesco. Let's check this out. Whom, it says, and that's han. That's a relative pronoun from the accusative singular side of the paradigm. Masculine, by the way. Has, who, ho, han is the full paradigm for that in the masculine singular. Was affirming, Okay, was affirming. That's e fasken, and that's in perfect tense. So that's continuous. He kept on doing it. There was no cease to the action. The aspect is linear, continuous. So that's just the deal. You see the omicron before the phi or the ph in Greek. Okay, so you see that augment there, and so that's just the deal. And then you see, I believe, let me see over here, third person singular. So we have the nu here as a secondary active personal ending. Okay, fasken. And it's an article, Hob there, and the article is found almost 20,000 times in the Greek New Testament. The Greek article. Haeta tu testu toteto tantentan hoi haeta non alpha tontonton tois and tus ta. Those are all of the articles in the paradigm. You understand what I'm saying? Now that's just the deal. Was affirming. Okay, so that's just the deal. Paul. Okay, and that's Paulos. Paul. To be alive. To be alive. And that's Zane. From Zao, as a matter of fact. Now, Zane is the first time that we saw as a resurrection word, or as a word describing Jesus' life after death. I think that's the only construction that we saw so far with this Greek word, live. Okay? Zane. Spelled out, okay, to be alive. Spelled out Zeta. Some people pronounce it with a D in the beginning of it, Zeta, z, but it's hard to say, so just cheat. Okay, you just check with your teacher if you can. Eta nowadays call Eta with the circumflex, and Nu nowadays called Ni. It looks like a small V, but it's not. It's an N. This just don't make Greek and Hebrew so hard. Okay, for us, more than Greek though. Greek is very easy to speak in. Okay, because I'm part Italian and more Spanish than Italian, like 99%. I'm Spanish, and there's another percentage. There's a point that locks me under the umbrella of the Italians. Okay, as my son is poking my back. Okay, my son Donnelly. Paul, and that's Paulus Zane. Paulus affirmed, okay, that he was alive. Now let's look at that word was affirming. I want to look at that. Let me look at that before I look at the other stuff, the stuff I've got. You understand what I'm saying? That's tagged by 5335. So let's check that out, because this is a strong statement here. Okay, to assert, affirm, profess. Okay, so actually to be alive is now this could be, let me see here. Now, to be alive, and I was looking at it as the present infinitive active. That's why to be alive is there. There's no article before the infinitive though. So usually when there's an article, it's very glaring that this is a verbal noun. This is an infinitive. It's acting like an infinitive. You see? But there's no article here. And so that's just the deal. So this is a present infinitive. Infinitives are infinite verbs. Okay, infinite. They're not finite. They're infinite. and they're verbal nouns, So that's just it. Well, let's look at the other text of Scripture to finish up. Okay, this is the Apostle Paul was affirming the resurrection of Jesus. He was against it before. He was against the resurrection of, not the resurrection, but he wasn't a Sadducee, he was a Pharisee. Okay, sat on the feet of Gamaliel. Okay, let's go to the NASB this time. And let's go to the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 26 and verse 23. That's the last time where the resurrection of Jesus is recorded in this book. Okay, so that's just the deal. And let me just go to verse 23. Okay, verse 23. And it says that the Christ was to suffer, and that by reason of his resurrection from the dead. There's no doubt there's nekron there. It's always it was always in the genitive plural. Okay, the dead ones. He would be the first to proclaim light both to the Jewish people and to the Gentiles. Okay, but it says over here, it talks about the resurrection of Jesus, which is the capstone of Christianity. It says over here that the Christ, the Messiah, that the Christ, Hamashiach, probably in the Hebrew New Testament, was to suffer, okay, and that by reason of his resurrection from the don nekron, from the dead, or just nekron, he, meaning Christ, would be the first to proclaim, okay, light both to the Jews and to the Gentiles. Alright, so let's go to this verse of scripture and look at the deal in the Greek. Okay, so let's look at it. Let's go to a Greek New Testament app. One of the best ever made, that's my opinion. Let's go to the Acts of the Apostles. Let's go to not the Acts of the Apostles because we were there already. Let's just look at a chapter, specific chapter. And this is chapter 26 and verse 23, which is right here recorded, I believe. Just gotta make sure because the vertical view does not have the verses, so you have to get it right. It's just the deal. It says over there that or a, okay, that's a conjunction. Okay, would suffer, and that's pathetas. And then it says over here the, and that's ha, Christ, and that's Christos, that's Christ, and then as, and that's a, about us, and that's actually, let's check this out over here, about us, and that's actually the Greek word protos, about us, and that's just it. Alright, let's go to the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 26 and verse 23. Chapter 26 and verse 23. So that's what we have. That a would suffer. Pathetas would suffer the Christ, or Ha Christos, HaMashiach in Hebrew, as, and that's A, first, and that's protas, through, and that's X, through resurrection. It says over here, anastaseos, anastaseos, from the dead, and that's actually necron, that means of the dead. Light, and that's false. He is about, and that's mele, mele's mele. That's the full paradigm for that. To preach, and that's an infinitive. Okay, present infinitive active, as a matter of fact. Katang Ghislain. Now, how do you know it's infinitive? The epsilon iota nu is one of these infinitive morphemes they have to remember. Just like sigma alpha iota, just like nu alpha iota, like that, There are a bag full of these infinitive constructions. To preach is an infinitive. Okay, katang Ghislain. Okay, to preach. And on it goes. Okay. Two, and that's do, both, and that's de. So you have de can be translated into both. Kai, famous Kai, can be translated into both. You see. It says over here, our people is lao. Greek word Kai, right behind the word and there. To the, and that's tois, that's easy, that's a dative plural article. Gentiles is ethnesin, Gentiles. Goyim, actually, in Hebrew. So resurrection is here, recorded. Let's just see where it is again. You understand? So that's just it. Okay, so let's just see. From the dead. And so there's resurrection from the dead. It's recorded right over here. Resurrection is the Greek word anastaseos. Anastasios. Now, Anastasios is spelled out ANASTASEOS, or alpha with the salt breeding marker, so it's not hot. Nu, alpha, sigma, tau, alpha, sigma, epsilon, omega, and the final sigma. Anastios. Now that's a genitive feminine singular word. Okay. And that's just a deal. And very important what comes after, from the dead. Now, from the dead is necron. From the dead. This is talking about, where Jesus was extracted from. He was extracted from Sheol and placed into his body yet again. Okay. So he was in Sheol preaching. Ekeruxen is the aorist construction there. You understand what I'm saying? And so that's just it. Now, I was mentioning the extraction of Jesus, meaning that he was elevated from Sheol and placed in his body yet again. Okay, so his spirit didn't see death. Okay, the Hebrew word ara, recorded in Isaiah chapter 53 verse 12, is the same Hebrew word, he poured out his soul unto death. It's the same Hebrew word found and recorded for Rebecca pouring out her pitcher, of water, into the trough. Okay, the water wasn't destroyed just because it was poured out of the pitcher. You understand? Same Hebrew word ara, not to be confused with ra'ah. That's another point. 74 people saw God at the same time, something of him. Verse 10 of chapter 24 of Exodus. Don't tell me that nobody saw God at all, because it's a wrong statement. Okay? Nobody has seen God at any time. The Apostle John is saying that nobody has perceived God at any time. That's what it means. And exegesata actually there in the text collaborates my claims very, very fully. You understand what I'm saying? He has made them known. He has revealed them. He has proclaimed them, or whatever the case may be. Well, you're not talking about physical eyesight. Okay? He didn't have to reveal to people about God because God wasn't seen. No, God wasn't understood. He wasn't perceived. That's the main thing that's running all throughout the Hebrew scriptures and the Greek scriptures. You understand what I'm saying? That's just it. Anastasis, incidentally, in English is spelled out A-N-A and S-T-A-S-I-S. Okay. Lexical form is anastasis, actually, anastasis. That's the lexical form. Tied or tagged by 386. 386. Well, I'm feeling a little bit weak because of my condition, and so I better part now. But what did we learn, though? I mean, we learned that Zain means to be alive, and that's an infinitive construction. Okay, found and recorded in the previous chapter in verse 19, and so that's just it. So let's just look at that briefly, because we're looking at what we actually discovered. An infinitive is a verbal noun. Okay, a verbal noun. They're infinite verbs. Okay, infinite verbs. For to me to live is Christ, and to die that's gain. You see, those are infinitives. Okay, and I believe that they both have articles as well. So sometimes it's accompanied with an article, so it's kind of stark. So that's kind of glaring, Now, so let's look at chapter 25 and verse, I believe verse 19. Okay. So we learned, according to the Acts of the Apostles, Praxis Apostolorum, chapter 25, verse 19, that there's an infinitive that has to do with the resurrection of Jesus. Recorded. Now it's translated to be alive. But, under the accidents of that, okay, it's actually Zain. Zain. And that's just the deal. There's a present infinitive active. And so that's just the deal. From the Greek word zao, I live. Okay. Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. But he also said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Greek word zoe, actually. Zoe. And that's feminine. Actually, he said, hey, Zoe. Hey, Zoe. The hey is one of the 24 articles in the article paradigm. Actually, it'll be E, like E Turquia, because it's feminine name, Turquia, E means, E is an article, I should say, rather, just like hey, but it's said different. It's pronounced differently in modern Greek. It's not hey, it's E. And I don't know why people say ho. It's either ha or o. There is no such thing as ho, okay, in modern Greek. They don't mention rough breathing markers like that in articles. Okay, so it's not he or ho, it's actually E or O. You understand? To be alive. He proclaimed, as just over here, okay, was affirming or proclaiming, and this is a continuous thing that the Apostle Paul was doing. It's in the imperfect tense. Imperfect tense is an incompleted action, okay? The linear, the aspect is continuous, just like participles are continuous, and sometimes present tenses can be, the present tense can be continuous also. It depends on the context. Okay, so we learned that. We learned Zain, okay, according to Acts chapter 25, verse 19. And then we went to, okay, chapter 26, where this is the last chapter that contains the resurrection of Jesus spelled out. I'm talking about not just alluded to or something like that, but just spelled out. Now, so 26 is the chapter, and then actually verse 23 is the coup de grace. Okay, and then we saw there the word, okay, for resurrection. So actually, Zain is recorded in verse 19 of chapter 25 of the Acts of the Apostles, an infinitive, and over here, actually, you got a genitive noun, genitive feminine, singular noun. Okay, talking about the resurrection of Jesus, which is the capstone of Christianity. Anastasios. And so that's just the deal. Alpha, new alpha, which that's the preposition. Okay. It can be translated up, Anna. You understand what I'm saying? And then sta seos. Okay, sta seos. And that basically means to stand again, you know, a rising up, but yet again. Now the thing is, how can somebody rise again, okay, if he didn't have that body originally? See, that's the problem that Jehovah's Witnesses get into. They say that the body of Jesus, okay, that he presented to his disciples wasn't his own. Well, if it wasn't his own, okay, yeah, you're charging God with fraud. Okay, this is the greatest piece of evidence that the world has ever seen. The body of Jesus. Okay, so that's just it. And that's it all across the board. Well, I'm very weary, guys. I'm very sick, in a sense. So I just have a very bad cold, so I'm very weak. So I have to break off right here. And maybe I could study this a little bit more carefully tomorrow. Just get into the semantic range more. And but basically, I give you the full reconstruction of these things. And so that suffice. Now you see an infinitive, Zain, in verse 19 at chapter 25 of the Acts of the Apostles, and you also see an infinitive, okay, recorded in verse 9 of chapter 20 of John's Gospel. You see an infinitive there. Okay, so that's just it. And that's just it all across the board. His angel Kenyon is giving glory to the God of Israel. God is not the God of the dead, Greek word nekron, or you could put to nekron there just to make a difference, but of the living. And that means that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were very much alive at the time that Jesus said those words. Please subscribe to my channel. Please give me a thumbs up. And please leave your comment on the screen. Thank you.